Hello, let's do an October TBR. Hi, I'm Colleen Delaney. If you're new here, I talk about books and writing. In the description will be links to my newsletter and all the books I write if you want to check them out. If you're in the mood for some really fallish reads, I would recommend checking out The Forest Witch, which is a cozy, spicy paranormal romance that takes place on a rainy weekend in autumn in the Pacific Northwest about a witch and a warlock falling in love, and Something Wicked, a contemporary romance I wrote under Lucy Hudson that is very cozy but also spicy. Today, we are in my bedroom, and we are not in my bedroom because my kids are being loud, though I do have one homesick today and probably will until April, because when you have 4 small children, they just pass viruses around. But it is because I reorganized my books, and now I keep all of my physical copy unread books right here, which is actually pretty nice because I used to have some of them in here and some of them downstairs, and now I just took them all out of my bookcase where they were, and they all go here. Also, I think it's good for me to have them all in one space because I can really see how many unread books I have. You cannot see them all. I'm going to try and tip my tripod down so you can see how far down it goes. There you go. And it's going to help me, not frivolously buy books. I'm still going to buy books that I want, but maybe when I go to half price books and there's a book that I might read in like 3 years, I don't need to buy it today. Also, I didn't want to make myself like a set TBR. I really wanted to mood read a lot in October, and so I thought I'd go through some of the books I think I might read with you. Probably not all of them. We're going to start with my stack of book of the month. Now, if you look right here, I'm currently reading The Vaster Wilds by Lauren Groff, which I just started. I'm on like page 12. I read a little bit before bed, but I am filming this on, I don't know, it's like the 25th, I think, of September. So I will probably finish that before the end of the month. If I don't, I will finish it right at the beginning of October. My unread book of the months are Ink Blood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. I do think I'm going to read this in October, or at least start it, because it has good fantasy vibes, and I think it's got like books, like stuff like that is a fun fall read. If I don't get into it in October, I will read it in November, and I've heard a lot of good things about it, so I am looking forward to it. Oh, look how beautiful that page is. The Scribe. I love it. That makes me want to read it even more. Next, I have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I really thought I was going to read this one in September, but I didn't get to it. And I was deciding between The Vaster Wilds and this, which one I was going to read as like my last book of the month book in September. And I did pick The Vaster Wilds. I know I'm going to love this book because I loved Evelyn Hugo and I loved Daisy Jones and the Six. But not unlike those two, it took me a long time to pick them up after I purchased them. So it's just taken me a long time, but I'll get there eventually. I have no plans to read Clytemnestra this month. I read 100 or so pages and it's just not calling me back, and I might officially DNF it, but I'm going to wait probably until December to make that sort of decision. And the same thing with Babel. I am on page 132 and I just didn't really like it very much. And it's hard. Like sometimes I can muscle through a book I don't really like if it's like 250 pages. I'll just finish it. And like this month I read a book that I really didn't like. And what I did was I mix read and listened to it. Like I would listen to it every time I went to the grocery store or got in the car without my children, and I muscled through it. But when it's a book that I'm sure the audio of this is like 40 hours long, I just can't force myself. So in December, I'll make a decision whether or not I'm going to officially DNF it, because when I officially DNF a book, I do sell it. And yeah, I'll make a choice then. We'll see. I did a video about this, but I went to a used book sale that my town does every year and bought like a lot of books. So next I'm going to pull out some books that I got there that I want to read this month. If you want to check out that video, I'll put a link in the description because I bought way more books than I'm going to be able to read this month, but I'll show you the ones that I want to read in October. First, I really want to read Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, I think is how you say it. I've heard this book is adorable, and I could use a little adorable in my life. It's also looks very like it's a very quick read because it's like 270 pages, but the pages are quite small. So it looks really fun. I mean, it's called Heartwarming, Wistful, Mysterious, and Delightfully Quirky. It explores the age-old question, what would you change if you could travel back in time? Like, that just sounds really lovely. And now I kind of wish I was reading this right now, because The Vaster Wilds is kind of violent. And then I want to read this month When the Emperor Was Divine by Julie Otsuka. This book was super popular when I worked at a bookstore. Yeah, 2002. So that's like the first summer I worked at a bookstore that I ended up working at a lot in my 20s. And I always wanted to read it, but just never did. And then I saw a used copy. I think it's like $2. Yeah, for $2. Was like, oh, this is perfect. It's very fast. It's under 150 pages. It's about Japanese internment camps. And yeah, I want to read it. And I think I'll read it in October. Next, I got a copy of The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. And I really liked The Maidens. I know it had mixed reviews. But then I told my neighbor who loves thrillers that I bought this. And she was like, this book changed my life. So now I'm really excited to read it. It's about a woman who commits like a horrible murder and then stops speaking. And it's told from the point of view of I'm not sure if it's like a psychiatrist or a therapist who's trying to get her to talk. But with how much I love The Maidens, I'm sure I will fly through this and really enjoy it. And nothing like a grisly murder for an October read. Am I right? I bought 3 Alice Hoffman books. And I don't feel bad about it. I could have bought like 7. There was a lot I hadn't read. But I decided to just pick one to read in October. And I decided to pick this one. And I mainly did it because of the cover. Skylight Confessions, Redheaded Heroine. Her books are all kind of like similar-ish sounding, which is why I love them. But this is about Arlen Singer, who believes in destiny and in love. On the night her father dies, Arlen is certain that the man she is meant to be with will walk into her life. But fate seems to be playing a trick when John Moody knocks on her door to ask for directions. Cool, practical, and deliberate John is dreamy Arlen's polar opposite, yet the two are drawn powerfully together even when it's clear they are bound to bring each other grief. And before I started becoming like such a romance reader, I loved tragic romance. That was like my favorite subgenre. I loved like a heartbreaking romance, and so I think I'll really like this book. So those are all the books from the sale that I'm going to read this month, or try to read this month, or maybe read this month. So here's some that I've owned for a while. The first is October Country by Ray Bradbury. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'd like to read 1 or 2 of the stories. If you have a favorite story in here, please tell me. There's a lot. There's like 20. And I don't want to be too spooky, but a little spooky is good. But I assume I'll read like 3 or 4 of these short tales. Got that good book smell. I don't know, like something like a mass market paperback that smells like it was printed in the 90s. When was it actually printed? When were you printed? You weren't printed in 96. Oh yeah. Were you? It says this was printed in 1996. So I got that smell right. So correct. I'm really proud of myself. Just nothing like the smell of a book. Next, I think I'm going to read The Highlander Takes a Bride by Lindsay Sands this month. I've read the first 2 in the series. This is the Highland Bride series. And I'm totally blanking on the names right now. So The Highlander Takes a Bride was book 1, and To Marry a Scottish Laird was book 2. I read one of those books in July and one in August. I took September off. I was going to read one of these every month, but I just didn't do it in September. So I think I'll read this one in October. This is like a 12-book series that I'm just slowly, reading one, buying the next, reading one, buying the next. So I think this one also, my favorite podcast, Heaving Bosoms, tied for my favorite podcast with Wildly Tarot, did an episode of like years ago that I listened to and loved, and it was hilarious, and I want to re-listen to that episode after I read it. So I'm gonna read this one. And lastly, from this hard copy section, I would like to read Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. I bought this last October, but or maybe even September, to read in October, and then I just like didn't feel like reading it, and it's like definitely got those like spooky vibes. So I thought that, oh good, I already have a bookmark in it. I love when I do that. I thought that this October would be a good time to read it. I've never read a Sally Thorne. I don't read a ton of contemporary. Like I read some, but The Hating Game is her most popular, or most famous, I should say, book. And so, but it's not really like workplace romance isn't really my jam. So I never felt the need to pick it up. But this one is more my jam. The sister of Victor Frankenstein decides to build herself a man. Yes, please. That sounds much more like something I would enjoy. So I got this one. I got this big stack. Now here's the thing. This is not the end of my TBR, which is already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books long. I did the Stuff Your E-Reader event that happened, and I bought so many ebooks because they were all free. And one of my books was on there. Finding His Mate. And I've already started to read a bunch of those. They're all on my Kindle, but my computer is not working. So I'm going to move this downstairs next to my computer, and then we will go through the list there. Okay, since I picked so many books and Stuff Your Kindle, and I assume I'm actually going to read a lot of them because I have been already. I needed to come down to my computer rather than try to memorize them. And that is because currently I cannot unplug my laptop. It is on its last legs. It's lasted a really long time. I've had it for I think 9 years, which is very long for a laptop. But right now I can't really move it. It's more like a desktop. And as you know, a writer, I don't mess around with my computer. So you're going to get my ebooks from right here. And I'm just going to go through them really quickly because I don't know that much about them. I just did Stuff Your Kindle, Stuff Your e-reader, which if any of you did that, my book Finding His Mate was on it. So I don't know if you picked it up. If you did, I hope you love it. Okay, I have Bear You Belong by P. Jameson, which is a mountain shifters book. I have Mated to the Clockmaker, a Precious Mates novella by Jen Howlett, which I think was a gargoyle romance. I have Dreaming of the Yuletide Wolf, which is a paranormal wolf shifter Christmas romance by Georgina Stacer. How do you say that? Stancer. I've got, loading to the next page, I literally got so many. Wolf Hunter, which is book 1 in Moonkissed by Harper Brooks. Becoming the Alpha, a Fated Mate Shifter romance by Nicole Howell. You think that's her real last name? Virgin Mate, a steamy shifter romance by Tia Didman. Bear's Midlife Matchmaker. Faded. It's called Shifter Nation. Faded Over 40 is the name of the series. Meg Ripley. And then we switched to historical fiction because I did this all by genre. An Indecent Invitation by Laura Trentham. We are in historicals. Revna, Charmed by a Brother in Arms by Peyton Lawson. That's like a Viking romance. The Rose and the Earl by Gillian Eaton, which it looks like Regency. Marshall in Petticoats by Patty Yeager. I am reading that one right now. So I will finish that before October. Surrendering to the Duke, by Stevie Sparks, which looks like a Regency, that probably, or Gilded Age. I can't tell from the person's dress. Captivated by Terani Thomas. I already read that one. You'll get a review in my September wrap-up for that one. That's a Viking romance. Now we're moving into more like fantasy. The Witch Handbook to Magic and Mayhem, book 1 in Stolen Spells by Tish Farr. Hunted by the Minotaur, a monster romance by Sakura Black. My Fake Bad Boyfriend, a hot holiday romance by Sarah Whitney. I've been wanting to read a Sarah Whitney for a long time, and I saw that. I was like, well, I might as well get a free one and see if I like her. We're now in contemporary. Broken Sky, the Stone Bay series prequel by Persephone Autumn. It's Always Been You, Woods Lake #1 by Jalen Autumn. 2 people with the last name Autumn. And actually, you know how I found those? I was looking for an autumn romance, and I searched autumn and then read both those. I was like, that sounds kind of good. I'm going to grab those. Too Much, Hayes Brother Book 1 by I.A. Dice. Cutie Pie, a Curvy Girl Hockey Romance by Nicole Rose. Actually, I started that one, and I can't read it right now because there's a trigger warning in it that's not for me, but it would normally be for everybody. Xander, a Perfectly Independent series novella by Amanda Shelley. That is a basketball romance. I've been trying to get my husband to read a basketball romance with me. If you watch all my videos, I did a video about what he reads, and he basically only reads books about basketball. So I was like, if I can find a good basketball romance, maybe I can make him do a book club with me. And then Wyatt, Boys of the Gin MC by Ray B. Lake. Already read that. You'll get a wrap up. You'll get that in the September wrap up. And then lastly, Skin Deep and Enemies to Lovers, Firefighter Romance Suspense by Kimberly Kincaid. Funny thing happened. I was looking up other books, and I can't remember what it was, but there was a book by Kimberly Kincaid, and I was like, oh, that sounds really good. But I knew that Stuff Your e-reader was going on. I've never read her before. I was like, oh, I'll go see if she has anything in there. And she did, so I grabbed that. And if I like it, I'll get her other one, which I put on my wish list, which is where I keep track of everything. So those are all my ebooks. Obviously, I'm not going to read more than 3 of those this month, but I have no idea which one I'm going to read, which ones I'm going to read. I mostly just pick up my Kindle and go from there. Okay, so now you've seen the, 30-ish books probably that I got from Stuff Your e-reader, and I'm going to read a bunch of those. I also have some ARCs. I don't think I'm going to be reading ARCs this month because I got so much stuff from Stuff Your e-reader. I think that maybe I'll jump back on the ARC train in November. I have an ARC I'm very excited about that my friend Janine Amnessa wrote. She wrote Striking Gold, which I reviewed in my September. No, I didn't review it yet. She wrote Striking Gold, which I will reviewing my September wrap up, which you're going to see in like 2 days. My schedule is hard for me to do on the fly, but you're going to see that soon. And I loved that book. But so she has a new book called The Poinsettia Christmas coming out in December, but I'm probably going to read the arc at the beginning of November. It's hard for me to get like Christmassy in October. So I think I'll read that arc in November, because by then I'm a little bit transitioning from fall to winter. And then I have like a Katie Robert arc, Hunt on Dark Waters, which I don't think I'm going to read yet. I think I'll save that to November or December. I also will have some book of the month picks, which depending on when they come out, will splice in right here how I did on my predictions and which ones I want to get. Okay, I'm so sorry, but my microphone is being all messy right now, as I've said in other videos. And I'm obviously going to buy a new one hopefully this week. So this is going to be a little quieter than the rest of the video. Book of the month dropped their picks, and I just recorded a very long video, me going through all the picks, but my audio didn't work. So I'm just going to quickly tell you what they are and then tell you what I picked. So I did very poorly on my guesses. The first pick is Wellness by Nathan Hill. It's a lit fic. This larger-than-life novel brims with heady ideas and the powerful emotional currents of a marriage slowly unraveling. Pick 2 is Starling House, which is the Gothic fiction. Trick or treat, the new caretaker of the spooky Southern Gothic mansion may just have to find out the hard way. The author is Alex E. Harrow. Third pick is The Leftover Woman by Jean Kwok. It's a contemporary fiction steeped in atmosphere and mystery. This poignant portrait of motherhood and belonging will have you turning the pages. And next is When I'm Dead by Hannah Morrissey. It's a thriller. This twist-filled and visceral chiller will have you wondering how well you can ever truly know those behold dearest. The fantasy pick is The Unmaking of June Farrow, which I did guess correctly because of the clue and was my pick. Transfixing and suffused with romance. You are not ready for this spell. This southern spun tale will weave around you. And then lastly, The Unsettled, which is a literary fiction pick by Anya Mathis. In this bracing and emotionally fraught saga, 3 generations of a black family fight for elusive freedom and truth. Okay, I'm going to also, after I reread this, I realized I forgot to read I might actually get more books than I picked. So far, I picked The Unmaking of June Farrow, and I got as an add-on The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. There are several add-ons also, which I will tell you in a second. But really quickly, I wanted to look at the Starling House. Multiple Viewpoints, creepy. Haunted House. No, I don't do haunted houses. And then I want to look at When I'm Dead. This twist-filled and visceral chiller will have you wondering how well we can ever truly know those we hold dearest. Psychological, multiple viewpoints, puzzle, and whodunit. Actually, that sounds kind of good. Bone-chilling October night. Investigates the death of her daughter's best friend. Hours later, tragedy hits close to home and she makes a missing child. Nope, I can't do it. Okay, so I'm going to stick with my 2 picks, and then let me quickly tell you the add-ons. So there are quite a few add-ons. There's The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab, My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon, Stars in Your Eyes by Case and Callender, How to Say Babylon by Safia Sinclair, What We Kept to Ourselves by Nancy Julian Kim, Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll, Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic by Brianne Randall, which I picked, and While You Were Out by Meg Kissinger. So I looked at all of these and read the description, and I added What We Kept to Ourselves by Nancy Julian Kim to my TBR. So I might get that a different month. Stars in Your Eyes has a beautiful cover, but I tend to not like the romance. That book of the month comes out. How to Say Babylon said it's very cerebral and lit ficky, and it's a memoir. And I'm currently reading The Vaster Wilds, which I got as an add-on in September, and it's very lit ficky and cerebral, and my brain isn't doing well. I'm sorry, I am so tired right now. It's very early, and I had a very long night and haven't had my morning beverage yet. And yeah, so we're going to go with a box of 2, The Unmaking of June Farrow and The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. I will see you later. So hopefully my book of the month picks are not giving my already extremely long TBR 3 more books, and hopefully it's 1 or 2. I know I'm at least getting 1 book because The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young, which I'm pretty positive was a pick, sounded really good and I wanted to get that one. But I'm not sure if there was also like a bunch of other books, and now you can get 5 books and I have so many credits. So, oh my gosh, you probably already listened to me hem and haw about how many books I'm getting. So I won't do it anymore. What are you most excited to read in October? Are you doing like a super witchy month? I don't really have witchy books on my list, which is odd for me because I love witchy books. But I read a witchy book in September that I didn't love, and you'll hear about it in my September wrap up. But Yeah, that always makes me sad. But I have a lot of work to do on my witchy series in October because it's editing time with my editor. So I'll be submerged in witchy worlds. It's just a witchy world that you guys won't get to be introduced to for a couple more months. But if you are reading anything great that is horror, which I don't read, or dark academia, or witchy, or just general spooky or thrillers, please throw it in the comments. If you want to let me know that you made it this far and don't want to write words, throw me a jack-o'-lantern. It's October season. And as always, I hope you're in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a great book, or about to start writing a great book. I'll see you soon.